Hello, and welcome to the star pattern. Hopefully you've got your hook and your yarn ready, and we're going to get going. The first thing we need to do is make 75 chain stitches. So we'll put a slip knot on our hook, and we'll make 75 chain. We don't want to do these chain too tight, so keep them nice and relaxed. So we've got 75 chain stitches here. It's quite a long chain. We're going to join it to form a loop. We just want to make sure that our chains aren't twisted, and you can do that just by laying it out on your table or desk, wherever you're working, and just making sure that all those chains are facing the same way and sitting up. And then we're going to do a slip stitch into the very first chain that we made, not our little slip knot here, but the very first chain that we made. And I'm going to dive headfirst down the center of the V of that chain. So this little guy here, my hook's going to go headfirst down the center of that chain. And I want to do a slip stitch, so that's yarn over, draw it through everything that's on my hook. And now I've got a circle. And we'll begin round one with one chain. And that chain doesn't count as a stitch, it's just to get us started. And I'm going to do one double crochet into the same stitch where I've joined my slip stitch. If you have a look here, you can see a little space. If I pull my work apart, this little space here is where I want to put my double crochet. So this little space here is where I want to pop my crochet, my double crochet. So my hook's going to go head first in there, yarn over, draw it back through. I've got 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, draw it through both loops. And I'm going to do a double crochet in each of my chains all the way around. When I do these double crochets into the chain, I want to go into this point here. So I'm getting 2 strands of that chain, and there's a single strand of the chain underneath my hook. And this is important for the next side of your star, because you'll be picking up these bottom loops here to create the next side of your star. If you're putting your chain, your double crochets into the chain anywhere else, you're going to have a little bit of trouble doing the next side of your star. So make sure your chains, your double crochets, pardon me, are going into the correct place on your chains. So they're not going into the back bump, they're not going into just one strand of that chain, they're going into this point here on your chain, and they're catching 2 strands of that chain on top and just a single strand underneath. And we're going to do 1 double crochet in every chain around. So we'll end up with 75 double crochets all the way around. And this round can take a little bit of patience and take a little bit of time, but It doesn't take too long. So we'll get going on that. And this gives us a good foundation for the rest of our pattern. So it's important to get it right. So don't be too worried if it takes you a little bit longer than normal to do this round. And the rest of the rounds are much quicker and much easier. And you can see I've got these loops at the bottom of my stitches here, and that's fine because I'll be using those loops on the second half of the star. Working our way around with our double crochets, and in this pattern and tutorial we're using Australian or British crochet terms. So if you're more familiar with US crochet terms, you might be more familiar with the term a single crochet for this stitch. We're about a third of the way around now. Split my yarn there, so I'll make sure I redo that stitch, otherwise it'll be really tricky to work into on the next round. Did it again. Halfway there. Two-thirds round. Almost done. And in this project, you'll notice that we're using a slightly smaller hook than you might normally use for this weight yarn. And that's because we want a nice, dense, sturdy fabric. And that adds to the shape of the star and makes sure none of your stuffing pokes out. Just about done. And you might notice your crochet getting a little bit curly at this stage. Don't worry about that, it's normal. The only thing we don't want happening is your crochet twisting at this point, so we will make sure that our crochet is all still facing the same way before we close this round. So I'll just make sure it's all still facing the same way, and it is, thank goodness. I'll go all the way into here. And I'm actually just going to count my stitches before I close this round, just to double check that I have got 75 stitches. Perfect. Phew. Okay. 75, and I'm going to do a slip stitch into the very first double crochet that I made, so into the top of the very first double crochet that I made. And that can sometimes be hard to identify when you've got a little bit of action happening here. I've got the chain that I made. Oh, focus on that please, camera. I've got the chain that I made, and that's standing up vertically. And I've got the top of the very first double crochet that I made, and that's sitting horizontally. That's the one I want. So I'm going to put my hook under both strands of that double crochet and then do yarn over, draw it through everything. Now we've done our round one, we're up to round two, and that begins with one chain, and keeping in mind that our one chain at the beginning of the row doesn't count as a stitch. And I'm going to do one double crochet into the same stitch that my one chain is coming from. And if you're having trouble identifying that, just give your work a little jiggle upwards and you'll notice a little gap forms underneath. That's where we want to go. So double crochet into there. And then we're going to do one double crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll notice when I was doing those stitches, I was going through both strands of the V at the top of the double crochet from the previous round. I don't want to just take one strand. I want both strands at the top of that stitch. So I've done my 6 double crochets, and now I'm going to do 3 double crochet together. So this is a decrease and it's a double decrease. I'm going to be getting rid of 2 stitches. So I'm making 3 stitches into 1. So I go into the next stitch, yarn over, draw it through, into the next stitch, yarn over, draw it through, and into the next stitch, yarn over, draw it through. At this point, I've got 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to do a yarn over and draw it through all 4 loops. Now I'm going to do 1 double crochet in each of the next 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And now I'm going to do a 3 double crochet 3 together over the next 3 stitches. So that's insert my hook, yarn over, draw it through, insert my hook, yarn over, draw it through, insert my hook, yarn over, draw it through. So I've got 4 loops on my hook, yarn over, through all 4 loops. And we keep repeating that sequence of 1 double crochet into the next 12 stitches and then double crochet 3 together until we've got 5 stitches remaining unworked. So let's get going. I'm up to my double crochet 3 together, and then I can start my sequence again. Then I can do my double crochet 3 together. And then start my sequence again. And double crochet 3 together. And now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches remaining. You can see here that's the end / beginning of my row, and I've got 5 stitches remaining unworked. And now I'm going to do 1 double crochet in each of those 5 stitches. And now I'm going to do a slip stitch into the very first double crochet that I made to close this round. So I'm looking for that first horizontal V there. Yarn over, draw it through everything. Now I'm ready to start round 3. So that's 1 chain and then a double crochet into the same place where my slip stitch was made. And then it's 1 double crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. And then I'm going to do our decrease again over the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3. Let's double crochet 3 together. So it's the same decrease that we've just used. I've got the 4 loops on my hook, so I will do a yarn over and draw it through all 3. Now I'm going to do 1 double crochet in each of the next 10 stitches. Now we're ready to do our decrease again. And we'll keep repeating that sequence until we've got 4 stitches remaining unworked. And we're up to our decrease again. So that's 1, 2, 3, and yarn over. Then we're up to our decrease again. And now start our sequence again. And our decrease. And now you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches remaining unworked, and we'll just do 1 double crochet in each of those stitches. So you can start to see how the sequence is working now. and we're having fewer and fewer stitches each round, so they get quicker and quicker. And we're up to round 4. So that's 1 chain, 1 double crochet into the same stitch, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And then we'll decrease by double crocheting 3 together, and then we'll do 1 double crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. And now we can decrease again and start the sequence again. And decrease again. Decrease one more time. And then we've just got 3 stitches remaining, and we'll do 1 double crochet in each of those stitches. Then we'll do a slip stitch in our first double crochet. And now we're up to round 5, so that's 1 chain, 1 double crochet into the same stitch, and then we'll do 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And then we'll do our decrease, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. And then decrease, and then decrease. And now we've got 2 stitches remaining, and we'll put 1 double crochet in each of those 2 stitches, and then close our round with a slip stitch. And now we're up to round 6. So we'll do 1 chain, 1 double crochet into that same stitch, and we'll put 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then we'll decrease. We're getting very close to finishing this round now. And then we'll put 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches, and then decrease. And then we've got one stitch remaining unworked, and we'll put one stitch in that. And then we can close with a slip stitch, and then one chain. We're up to round 7. So we work 1 double crochet into the same stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then decrease. And then we'll work 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then decrease. We're going to do this all the way to the end. And you'll notice after the last increase, there's no stitches remaining unworked before you're ready to close your round. So you just go straight into closing your round with your slip stitch. Now on round 8, you're going to do 1 chain, and then you're going to go straight into your decrease, and one of your stitches for your DC3 together, or your double crochet 3 together, is going to be the stitch that is right underneath your chain where you did your slip stitch. It means that your double crochet or your double crochet 3 together are slightly off where they have been in previous rounds, but that's okay. It's so you can actually complete them. If we didn't put them slightly off where they've been in previous rounds, you wouldn't be able to complete the last one. So that's why we're just putting them 1 stitch away from where they've previously been. So we put our hook into the same stitch that our chain is coming from, yarn over, draw it through, into the next stitch, yarn over, draw it through, and into the next stitch, yarn over, draw it through. So when we've got 4 stitches, 4 loops on our hook, yarn over through all 4. And then we continue doing our decreases all the way around. One last one. Whoops, make sure I catch both strands. Then we're ready to close our round with a slip stitch in that first stitch that we made. Now you're ready to cut the yarn and fasten off. I like to leave a slightly generous tail so that I can weave that end in and get it nice and tight, because we're going to close up our round at this point. Just going to grab a needle so that I can do that for you. So now I'm just going to thread my yarn tail into a needle. And you really want to weave this end in now before you start the second side, because it'll be too tricky to weave this end in once you've attached the other side. So I'm going to just thread my needle around so I can close up the center first, and then I'm going to weave my yarn around, closing up those little gaps that have developed when we did some very sudden decreases there. So I've closed up the middle, and now I'm just going to go across those little gaps there that have developed, which just develop naturally. It's just what happens when you do lots of decreases next to each other. And you don't have to get too crazy here. We're just sort of filling in spaces. If this was a garment that was going to be worn and move around a lot and get a lot of action, I'd probably be doing something a bit different if I was covering up holes or mending holes or something like that. But because this isn't going to get any movement in this area or pressure, it's okay. You're just sort of going back and forth, covering holes. You're not trying to mend a hole. There's no loose stitches or live stitches or stitches that are going to run anywhere or anything like that. You're just sort of covering the space so there's no holes. You want to do it on the back of the work, which is this side here, but and keep it neat. You don't want to get too wild on the front or anything so that it looks messy, but you're just trying to cover these holes so stuffing doesn't poke out. It's looking pretty good to me, actually. There we go. So you haven't got those holes in the middle now. Now, if you have a look at your pattern for side 2, with the right side of your work facing you, so it means the outside of your star. So this is the outside of your star, not that side. This side is the outside of your star facing you. You're going to reattach your yarn where you began your side 1, which is here, where your little tail is hanging around. If you want to be sure that you're getting it in exactly the right place, you'll know that this point on your star is where you're going to have your decrease. So you've got your 1, 2, 3 decrease. This is your center of your point. You can follow it up through the spine there. The spine that I'm talking about is this decrease spine. This stitch here sits right in the center of that spine, so you know that the 2 stitches either side of it are going to create 1, 2, 3 your decrease. So in the first part of side 2, we actually started at round 2 of side 1. And if you have a look at round 2, the first thing we do is 1 chain, 1 double crochet into the same stitch as the chain, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. We know that these are our 3 stitches we want to do our decrease in. So if we count back 6 stitches from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're the 6 stitches that we want to do our double crochets in. So I'm actually going to attach my yarn here. You'll actually see that's 1 stitch back from the beginning. Sometimes the beginning can get a bit skewed, can get a bit shifted because you're doing a lot of action and joining and flicking around of things. So sometimes you're joining right on that little bump, sometimes you're joining either side of it, but the best way to get it accurate, find where your first decrease is going to be and count backwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to join in here. So I'm going to join with a slip stitch. I'm going to make 1 chain and then make a double crochet in there. And I'm going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm just going into those loops that are left over from my chains. Now I'm right on the edge, right on the point of my star, and I can do the corner decrease, which is double crochet 3 together. So insert my hook, yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, insert my hook yarn over, and then once I've got my 4 loops on my hook, I can do a yarn over and draw it through all 3. And that way my decreases are going to line up with the decreases on my first side. And then if we look back to round 2, it tells us to do 1 double crochet in each of the next 12 stitches. So that's what we'll do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we're going to do our decrease, so our double crochet the next 3 stitches together. And then 1 double crochet in each of the next 12 stitches. And then we're up to our decrease again, so let's do that. And you can already start to see the shape of your star starting to take shape in this round. Your points will start to show, they'll start to curl around, and that's exactly what you want to be happening. And then we've got 5 stitches remaining unworked. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do 1 double crochet in each of those 5 stitches, and then we'll do a slip stitch to close our round. And then we'll move on to round 3. In round 3, we do 1 chain, 1 double crochet into the same stitch as our 1 chain, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. And then we do our decrease. And then 1 double crochet in each of the next 10 stitches. Up to the decrease again. And then back to the start of the sequence. and a decrease. And the decrease again. And I've worked the last 4 stitches, and now I can close my round. Now we're up to round 4, and that's 1 chain, 1 double crochet into the same place, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And then we can decrease. And then 1 double crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. And then we'll decrease. And then in each of the next 8 stitches. And then decrease. And our last decrease for this round. And then we work 1 double crochet in each of the last 3 stitches, and then we can close the round. And now we're up to round 5. So 1 chain, 1 double crochet into the same stitch as the 1 chain, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And then we decrease, and you can really start to see the form taking shape. And then 1 double crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. And then a decrease. And then 1 stitch in each of the next 6 stitches. and then 1 double crochet in each of the last 2 stitches, and then we can close. And now we're up to round 6. So that's 1 chain, 1 double crochet in that same stitch, and now we're going to do 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then we'll decrease, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 4. Decrease, another decrease, and then 1 double treble into the very last stitch remaining, and then we can close that round. And now we're going to do round 7. So that's 1 chain, 1 double crochet into that same stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then we'll decrease. And then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then we'll decrease. And then 1 double crochet into the next 2, and then we'll decrease. We're almost there. 1 double crochet into the next 2, and then decrease. And 1 double crochet into the next 2, and we'll decrease. And after this last decrease, there's no stitches remaining unworked, so we can just close our round. And after round 7 on this second side, we're ready to stuff our star. We can't stuff it after round 8 because the hole isn't big enough, so we stuff it at this point, then we do round 8 and close it off. So I'm going to get some stuffing here. And what I like to do is push the stuffing into each of the 5 points first and then fill up the middle. And you'll have an easier time doing that and you'll get a really nice shaped star. So I'm just going to poke some into each point first, all the way down, poke some into the next point. There is a bit of a method to stuffing toys and things like that. I'll poke it all the way in. Next bit. Some in there. And you want it to be quite solidly stuffed. You don't want to have it too squishy. It wants to have a good solid shape, this piece. Holding on to my ends there so that I don't get lost in the middle. And I want to put a bit more in. You don't want to overstuff it, but you also don't want to understuff it. Looking good. A bit more. Get some right in the middle. That's feeling pretty good there. So I'm going to my hook back in, and then I'm going to do round 8. And you might find round 8 on this second side a little bit awkward, but it's just one round, so crack on. So round 8, that's one chain, one double crochet. Oh, we don't do any double crochets in this round. It's all decreases, and the first decrease starts in the stitch immediately below our one chain. So let's get going. So every stitch is involved in a decrease in this round. And you want to make sure these stitches are as tight as possible here. It can be really easy to accidentally let them get a bit loose in this round because they want to do their own thing, that is for sure. But you can see it coming together now. So this is my last decrease in this round, and then I'm ready to close. Here we are, ready to close in the top of this first stitch here with a slip stitch. I'm going to give us a generous tail. There we go. And now I'm going to close up this side. You can see a few gaps there. We're going to hide those. First thing. And then we're going to close these gaps as well. And you don't want to get too wild when you're doing these because it can look a bit odd if you've got yarn going in all different directions here. You want to do the least amount possible here while still covering the spaces. And keeping the stitches reasonably discreet. I think that's probably enough now. And I'll just go in here, pull it out there, and she'll be right. Trim off that tail and squish our star into shape. And there you go, you've got a beautiful star. You're all done. And that is how you make a star from start to finish. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Bye.